Hello, I'm Dr. Druv and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm a Canadian physician and this is a channel not on medicine, but on all the other aspects related to our medicine lives. Today we're going to cover how Canadians spend their money. And this is an important concept to understand so that you can reduce your expenses and build wealth. And this relies on you understanding the wealth equation, which has been covered in the previous videos. So what is or how are Canadians spending their money? So you can see here from how Canadians spend their money in 2019, as the data is usually in 5-year aggregates and is aggregated to sometimes yearly after the data has been collected. So in 2019, the average Canadian income was $51,300, while their average spending was $68,980. Which makes sense as to why many Canadians are going into debt to fund their lifestyle, because that's the discrepancy between their income and expenses. And the vast majority of it is going towards essentially shelter at 29.3% here. The next biggest one is transportation, and then food at 14% and household operations at 11.5%. You can clearly see that other aspects such as education at 2.7%, tobacco, alcohol, cannabis, and games are 2.9, which is, I would say, the discretionary expense or spending. Clothing and accessories at 4.8%, health and personal care at 6%, which is we have less control over that, and recreation 6.7%, which we do have some control over that. So you can see that the vast majority is shelter and transportation, which is the reason why I will create a video on renting versus buying, add more information to that debate. I don't think there's a perfect answer, and also cover buying a reasonable house from a big house and how that may affect our ability of reducing that particular expense. So why is it important to understand how Canadians are spending their money? And so we as physicians are part of the general population, and we're probably having the same amount of spending. And due to Parkinson's law, expenses rise with income. And so even though we are high income earners, we also have high expenses. So the overall spending is no different than the percentages shown here. And so you can see where the wiggle room lies in terms of the expenses. The vast majority of physicians and wealthy individuals that I've spoken to across North America state that if, let's say, you're earning $500,000, try living on $40,000. I can say from my own experience, I did have a personal income of $40,000 despite earning a staff income in Canada as a family practice anesthesiologist. It was hard, there was no doubt about it, but it was possible. One of these days, I hope to share the story of how one can live on $40,000 despite earning a staff income. And so you can see that discrepancy there. If you're earning something like $200,000 minus $40,000, that's savings of $160,000. Now, obviously, there's some taxes there involved as well, but your ability to save and grow that wealth is much, much more powerful. So that's the reason why I'm sharing this, to understand where your money is going so that you can control how your money is being spent. So how does one decrease their spending in that fashion? So having looked at that, you need to understand, buying a Tesla versus buying a used car, buying a reasonable house versus buying a expensive house. Obviously, you have less wiggle room if you're living in cities like Toronto and Vancouver. Your cost of living is high, so you have less wiggle room. But having said that, you still have options of maybe living, an hour or two outside Vancouver, maybe living in a rural practice where the cost of living is lower, although it's kind of not much difference now in Canada due to COVID. But all of this can be done by doing monthly tracking through your cash flow sheet. So in the previous videos, I did cover cash flow and the tools that I use to track it: positive cash flow minus negative cash flow, and I differentiate income, expenses, accommodations, transportation, credit cards, and so on. And so by tracking that monthly, I'm able to know where I'm able to reduce those expenses if I want to reduce them, because it does mean that there's a little bit of scarcity, there's a little bit of cutting down on things, getting rid of subscriptions, which I know is very hard, so to speak. Like getting rid of a Disney subscription or Netflix, if you're a big binge watcher, may be a bit difficult, but that's the choice we have to make if we have to build wealth through discipline. And wow, that's 5 minutes. So on that note, in conclusion, knowing the wealth equation is important. Knowing how Canadians spend their money is important. Knowing how you are spending your money on the average Canadian spending their money through your cash flow street and monthly tracking is important. And that'll help you determine on how fast you want to build wealth, because the more savings you have, the more you could potentially save and or invest. Understand the difference between savings and investments, which was covered in previous videos, and be able to build wealth and understand why you want to build wealth, which comes from knowing your past. Hopefully all these concepts that I'm covering sequentially do add up. So a few action items. If you'd like to follow the exact frameworks used by affluent physicians in a step-by-step fashion as I'm building these videos to take back control of your time and money, then check out the link in the description below. I make these videos because I'm passionate about fighting burnout in 10,000 physicians across this world. And I wish that someone was there in my own wealth building journey, but now I'm going to pass it on as a legacy. Come and join my free Facebook group of like-minded physicians full of free resources like cheat sheets, calculators, and everything in between to live our medicine lives. On that note, thank you very much for listening. Thank you for doing and taking care, doing your job, doing your work, doing your passions, and taking care of your patients. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for the YouTube algorithm to spread this message to other physicians. And I'll see you in the next episode.